Repairing lawnmower wheel adjuster. Wobbly wheel, wheel not turning. Hello, and thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how I repair this Craftsman front wheel drive height adjuster. If your wheel wobbles like this, there are several reasons that could cause this wobble. Today we're going to address two of them. Now, this mower is the mower that I did a recent video on. One was to adjust the valves. The other was putting a new carburetor in that I got for HIPAA. And this mower works great other than this wobbly wheel. I've cut the lawn with it several times and the motor's running strong. One wheel turns, one wheel doesn't, and this wheel every so often will lock up. Now, I already took this partially apart and I found the cause for it. Today I'm going to show you how I go about repairing this. And if it can't be repaired, we'll just have to get a new lever. The first thing we have to do is to remove the wheel. To remove the wheel, we have to remove this nut. Thank you, man. Okay, thank you. Okay. Once you remove the wheel, this is what you have underneath. This is the drive to turn the wheel. These are the gears inside the wheel, and this is a common problem. The gears in this wheel are plastic, the drive is metal. So this wheel wasn't turning as far as being self-propelled. It would roll, but every so often it would lock up. And why was it locking up? The transmission on here is good because the wheel on the other side was working, but this one would lock every so often. I would have to rock it back and forth. Another thing, this isn't factory. This either wore out or it's not the wheel that came with this unit. And the reason I say that, to get this wheel off, there was a nut that went on to this. There's a shaft coming out. When we go to the other side, this side has a bolt that goes into the axle. The other axle had a male end and there was a nut that went on it. So I'm not sure which one of these was from the factory. I would think it's the other side because this piece over here turns easy and this looks like it could come off. See the C-clip? When I opened this up originally, I tried getting this E-clip out and I couldn't get it out. It actually broke off. And I couldn't get this gear out, this pinion gear, couldn't remove it. So to get this out and to see what's going on, I have to remove this gear. This piece right here, I believe it's a bearing. I used a hammer and a chisel and I pushed it in and it freed up this wheel where it could spin. And then when I kept playing with it, it actually rolled out and it locked it up. So something's not right behind here and I have to get this off to find out what's wrong. I tried tapping this. I used my mix of 50-50 transmission fluid and acetone. I let it soak and I still couldn't get it off. So today, that was yesterday. Today I'm going to use this puller. It would be better if you had a 3-prong puller, but this is what we have. And the only thing holding this on is a little bit of rust. Now, this over here is loose no matter what. It gets held in when you put the wheel on. This is the problem up here. Okay? And that's just a dust shield. Now, a lot of times if the wheels don't turn, in here in this gear and inside the wheel, you'll find a lot of grass built up, mud, and that'll keep the wheel from turning. But that wasn't the case this time. So let's see if we get this off today. Had this soaking overnight. I might have to drill a little hole in here just to hold this in the center, but we'll see. Or hit it with a punch. To get this to work, I hit this with a punch and just started a hole with a drill bit so this wouldn't slide around. I was able to pull it out. I did have to lubricate it though because I didn't want to slide off all this rust. This is why I'm thinking this is the original one, because it was so hard to get off. If this was changed before, I don't think it would be so bad. Now, we can see this pin back in here. So that pin has to go in here, otherwise the axle will spin and the gear won't. So when it goes back on, you have to make sure that that pin is in here. Now I'm going to take this off and see what the problem is, why this is the way it is. To get this off, there's two nuts back here. I'm going to show you on the other side, because with the transmission it's hard to see, and I can't get a socket in there or a ratchet in there. I have to use an open-end wrench. And the two nuts, there's one here and one up here. Now if the camera's picking it up, I can't tell. So that's what it'll be on this side, and you can see over here this transmission's in the way and the nuts are back there. I'm going to remove these nuts, take this piece off, and see what the problem is with this. This is what that piece should look like. This looks like a bearing in here, and the other side the bearing was gone. This isn't going to be a repair job, but more of a replacement job. Let me show you what I have here. First of all, we can see that these two pieces are definitely different. As I pointed out before, this one takes a bolt, it's a female end. This one takes a nut, it has a male end. That's not the issue. The issue is this part was completely gone and I couldn't get it out. What I had to do was to cut it to get it out. Let me show you what it looks like and why I had to cut it. This piece was on like this, and I believe this piece right here was part of this. This little stud normally would just pop right out. I tried tapping it out. I soaked this with the 50/50 transmission fluid and acetone. I tried other things on it, didn't work. I tried tapping it down, I couldn't get it out. Tried using a punch on it. But what I noticed, when I hit this piece back here, this collar, when I pushed it back, this tightened up. I'm trying to loosen it up again. If I could push this back a little bit more, I'm going to play around with this. If I can't get this out, I'm going to use the grinder, grind it down, and try to tap it out from that part. I don't know if it's going to work or not. If not, I'll have to drill it out. Let me tell you, this mower was definitely a mower for the dump. I stated earlier that I did a valve job on this one. I was mistaken. I didn't do the valve job on this one, but another mower that I had. But I do have the link for that up above if you want to see how I ground down the valves to get them working properly. Best use for this mower so far was having material to do videos on. So let me get back to this. I'm going to grind this down, see if I could tap it out with a punch. If not, I'm going to drill it out, get this piece off, and I should have a similar piece like this in my boneyard. I do have a few mowers that have this, but they're in better shape than this mower, so I don't want to pull it off. But I should have one in the boneyard. I have a link to my Amazon account down below if you want to purchase one. Remember though, they are left and right sides, and it makes a difference which side you put it on. So when you order, make sure you have the right machine, the right part, and the right side. Well, let me get to this and I'll be back once I have it off. So as you can see, with that other wheel assembly, there was no salvage in it. And out of the 24 or so lawnmowers that I have in the boneyard, not one of them have the same bracket. So this is going to be put on hold. If I find another assembly, I'll fix that other side, or I may just take this engine off and put it on another mower if I need to. But I want to show you how to remove this wheel and to remove that assembly and to reinstall it if you should have this problem. I have already loosened all the nuts and bolts on this wheel and the assembly to speed this video along. So the first thing you're going to be doing is to remove the bolt or the nut, whatever you happen to have on your wheel. And there's usually a washer. This one has two. I don't believe this is factory. I'm going to pull the wheel off. Next you'll have this E-clip. I already have this loosened. I have that. Just get a screwdriver and pry it up. Next you'll have this gear that turns the wheel. And remember, when it goes back, the pin that's back here has to be in here, so when this axle turns, it'll turn your wheel. You can take the dust cover off. Now, what I did find out, on this pin that's in here, it goes in and out one way. On one side, there's a little lip, so you got to make sure you're hitting it out in the right direction. So you want to make sure you're pulling it out in the right direction. Okay. And you can see this little ring around this. This side is smooth, this side has a stop. Next, you go under the deck and you have these two nuts that hold the whole assembly on. And then it should just pull right off like that. Now if you recall, on the other side there was a ring around here like a collar. I wasn't sure if it was part of the axle, but evidently that collar was this part right over here. This whole assembly separated, it came apart. But I didn't see any way of repairing that other assembly. Like I mentioned, I'm going to wait to see if I get one. For the age of this mower and everything else that has to be done to it, for me it doesn't pay for me to buy an assembly and new wheels for it. But if you should need either new wheels or an assembly, I have the link to my Amazon store where you could purchase these items. So now let's reassemble this. Before I reassemble this, I just want to point this out. This bracket has two part numbers. First one here for this lever is 419054. That's for this piece. For this piece back here, the plate, the number is 419035. This is held together by the snap ring. It looks like if you remove the snap ring, this piece will come right out, and I believe at that point you might be able to just to buy this piece and not the whole assembly. I do not know what the cost difference is on these parts, whether you save that much by buying the whole assembly or just the part itself, but if you should need it, I'll post it down below. So now let's reassemble this. If you have a mower for a couple of years, you may want to take the wheel off and lubricate in here. If this was lubricated, chances are it wouldn't have stuck like that and fell apart. You don't want to lubricate the axle that the wheel goes on because the wheel is plastic, but these metal parts, they should be lubricated. First thing, I cleaned some of the rust off this to have that gas slide on a little easier than it came off. Same thing with the axle for the wheel. I'm going to slide this on. Tighten up the two nuts in the back. Back to tighten those up. Okay, okay, now that I have this tight, the hole for that pin is under the sleeve, so the sleeve has to be knocked back a little, otherwise you won't be able to get that pin in, and the gear won't be able to slide all the way up. Go. Next, you want to slide that pin in, and remember, one side has a lip, and you want to turn it straight up and down so it doesn't fall out on you. Okay. Don't go anywhere in that direction. Once you have the pin in, get this dust cover back on. Now get the gear, and these slots in the gear have to line up with that pin. Okay, now you'll have this groove where this E-clip goes in, unless you drop it like that. Okay, so now you want to get the C-clip in, and you can use a screwdriver, a pair of pliers, and just press it down. Okay, not yet. There we go. That's all the way in. Get the wheel on. Either your bolt or your nuts, whatever's attaching yours. The appropriate washers. And that's it. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to help me grow this channel, give it a like, share it with someone else who might find it useful, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Hit that Joe Z button, and be sure to ring that bell not to miss my new videos as I upload them. Until next time, stay safe.